Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Madeline Pumariega, president of Miami Dade College. So happy to welcome you all here for this important event. I think we've come to this room before when we were thinking about a talent strategy goal. We sat in this room when we heard from Dr. Portas about Miami is no longer becoming, but has arrived an emerging city along with Dubai and Singapore. And today, we'll have a thoughtful conversation around artificial intelligence and what it means to the future of work. This work is so important, and as I chair the Academic Leaders Council for the Beacon Council, it is really the work of Opportunity Miami and what we're doing with Opportunity Miami. We all are familiar with one community, one goal. So many of us that have been in Miami remember those meetings, those roundtables. Miami Dade College and the school district joined today Dr. Lupe Diaz. We aligned all of our academic programs in schools to one community, one goal. And I know we've got our partners from Florida International University, Barry University, St. Thomas University, Florida Memorial University, and so many of us aligned our academic programs to those goals. And then came Opportunity Miami, and that really was about who Miami is today. And this group, the Academic Leaders Council, then focused and worked on a talent management goal to make sure that we had a talent strategy for this community. And we set a goal that 65% of working adults between the ages of 25 and 64 by 2040 would have at least an associate's degree and above. And we did that because that's the class of kindergarten today, of who do we want our community to be. And while we're at a time that 52% of Americans say they don't have trust in higher education, I would subscribe to you that there's no more important time for higher education. There's no doubt that ChatGPT has democratized information. It has not democratized knowledge. And we are in a knowledge economy and will be in a knowledge economy for the foreseeable future. And so we're going to need more of our community to have those credentials of high value, those stackable credentials, whether it's a college credit certificate to an associate's to a bachelor's, in the way that we've approached it here at Miami Dade College. We're the first in Florida to have delivered on an artificial intelligence curriculum, a college credit certificate, an associate's in science, and a bachelor's of applied science. That builds on we're the first in the nation to have by the National Security Agency a Center of Excellence designation for both our associates and bachelors in cybersecurity. We're leading the nation in putting together the curriculum framework for artificial intelligence alongside Maricopa Community College and Houston Community College. And that's why this topic today and convening all of the leaders here is so important. I want to also recognize the Miami Tech Coalition members that are here. I see Ken Finnerman being led by our Vice President, Antonio Delgado, who leads everything tech. And together with our sister organizations, whether it's Barry, St. Thomas, FIU, FMU, we're building those partnerships and pathways. Just a couple of months ago, we signed 4 articulation agreements with FIU, so students have a +1 transition right in and can earn that credential. And we're proud to say that in our institutions, we're doing that in an affordable and accessible way. And that's what the Academic Leaders Council of the Beacon Council focuses on. We want to make sure that businesses in Miami-Dade County and those that are interested in coming to Miami-Dade County know that they have the talent and the educational institutions to work together. And foundational to that is K-12 and Superintendent Doltris, who's been working diligently not only in closing the reading gap, the math gap, but working also on career technical education and pre-apprentice programs in partnership with all of the higher education institutions. We could not do that without the support and the leadership of CareerSource, and Rick Beasley is here with us today, and his support of making sure that we provide businesses in our community the dollars to reinvest and level up their employees is critical. I'm so proud that today the Beacon Council is led by Rod Miller. He has absolutely energized everything of the Beacon Council. His creative ideas, his innovation, his thoughtfulness, and his collaboration has been well welcomed. And the team he's put together at the Beacon Council is second to none. So we're privileged in the ALC to work so closely with you, Rod, and your leadership. And I'd like to also recognize what we do here, we do because the state of Florida makes significant investments and believes in our able and willing Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez joins us here today. And I want to thank you on behalf of all of us. She is a champion for Miami-Dade County. She has, along with her colleagues, championed live local, work local, everything local to make sure that our businesses here can thrive and that Miami continues to build pathways to economic prosperity. And now, without further ado, I get to introduce a trailblazer, a friend, a champion, someone that I'm not sure that ever sleeps because she is everywhere in this community, whether it's Sundays or Saturdays, it's Mondays through Friday, championing everything that's important. She'll say today she's talking about garbage, but I will tell you that the mayor is always talking about the significant things. When we sat here and we talked about a talent goal for Miami-Dade County, she said, I'm all in. Then she said, I'm not just all in. She got the county commission to support future-ready scholarships. And today, any high school senior that graduates from a public, private, charter school in Miami-Dade County can attend Miami-Dade College tuition free and earn that associate's degree so that we can build on that talent strategy. When I think about Opportunity Miami and the goals around talent and climate, there hasn't been a greater champion around climate. The first resiliency officer was appointed by her, the heat officer, all kinds of dedicated individuals on the things that will make sure that Miami continues to thrive. And so I'm happy to introduce to you, my friend, welcome up our mayor to the podium to share a few words. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So we started right around the same time. So we're sisters in the journey. Yeah. We started together and we're going to stay together. So thank you so very much to my friend and sister, Madeline Pumariega. What an incredible job you are doing here at Miami Dade College. Let's give it up. You know, and it doesn't hurt that we're the first lady leaders in our respective fields, right? Doesn't hurt. It's not a prerequisite, just saying. This is like a dream come true. I actually remember when this first was created a long time ago and was rebirthed and has come back really strong. And so it's just a pleasure to look around and see that we have our academic leaders in the room, plus our community and civic leaders who are animating the path forward. We are defying national trends, I think. First of all, Miami-Dade College is the leading college in the nation, more people attending than any other place. But also, apparently, people are kind of not feeling so good about college in general around the country. There's sort of this notion that somehow college is not as important as it once was. Well, we know that's not true. We know that it is really the elevator. And that is what has been proven with this college in this place. And I think we are still defying the national trends. So everything that you do here today, all of the great ideas that emerge, the ways that we work collectively to achieve them, we are truly, once again, leaders of the nation. So let's give it up for us because we're always, we're always leading the way. And it's innovation here in the college, it's innovation, it's actually in our DNA. That's what I like to think about it, that innovation is in Miami-Dade County DNA. So I'm honored to be part of this. I'm a kind of a frustrated academician myself, so being part of this council kind of feels like I've maybe slightly arrived, although honestly I haven't been doing as much reading as I should, and I'm especially, you know, I'm a digital immigrant, not a digital native. Y'all remember that term? That was a little while ago. We are celebrating immigrants today. I just came from a great big fair where we're providing services to our immigrants, 50% foreign born in Miami-Dade County, which is incredible. And And this college also, again, a great lifter of people who are coming here seeking a better future and contributing to our economy. But I have prided myself on always knowing about the latest and the greatest in technology. But I'm now 69, turned this weekend, very proud 69er. 69er. So now I'm smart enough just to hire smart people. I don't necessarily have to keep up myself because I surround myself with brilliant people. And here today is Chessie De Quesada-Covey. Francesca is her formal name, our Chief of Innovation and Economic Development. Chessie, where are you? There she is, right in front of me. Okay, she is a digital native, and she knows what we're talking about here today. We all know that education and the workforce are essential elements to driving our economy and our social success, not just economic, but social success. And so the role of all of these academic institutions, and by the way, they're all friends. I mean, isn't that special? Like, let's just say that's really important because they get along and they recognize that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And so we're not competing. We each have a role to play. There's plenty enough students to go around. I don't know about faculty, but students, because, you know, we have such low unemployment rates still. So I know we are competing for talent everywhere. But the point is that we need to build our talent base. That is actually the point of the whole thing, because that is what is going to keep us ahead of the curve. And fortunately, everybody wants to live here, so that's helping. But for those who are here, we need to do everything possible to lift them up. And that is the trajectory, our mission. So, Madam President already mentioned about this Future Ready scholarships. So proud about that effort that the county is actually contributing dollars to make sure that people can go tuition free and get their associate's degree, and we'd love to expand that. That's in the game plan. Also, the South Florida Anchor Alliance, which is working together across public sector and some private hospitals, universities, and others to lift up well-paid jobs. Not just any jobs, well-paid jobs, because we live in an economy that has New York prices but not New York salaries. And we have to really address that. And we were together talking about housing this morning, Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez and I. What a critical issue for all of us. So this group has set an ambitious target. And when we set targets and we set our minds on something, we get things done. So by 2040, we aim to achieve a 65% educational attainment rate. That's an associate's degree or higher. Among adults, this would be a 20% increase from our current 45.5. Can we do it, ladies and gentlemen? We can do it. We definitely can do it. So we position ourselves as a global leader in innovation, business, and social mobility, which we are all of those things. Maybe not everybody knows that yet, but when we put our voices together, everybody will know that we are formidable. And honestly, it's our diversity as well as our determination that makes it very, very possible. You know, I have 4 E's. I'm thinking of what are my D's? Diversity, determination. Come on. Drive. Good. Oh. Data. Okay, we did it. Yay. And dynamism. Okay, we'll go for 5. Okay. Somebody write that down. That's going to be our watchword. But we know to get there, we have challenges. There are glaring gaps in educational attainment, especially among our Black and Hispanic communities. So we can't ignore that, folks. We have to pay attention. You know, this is who we are, and we have to double down. And to close those gaps for every resident will require equitable access to education and career opportunities. And so that's what folks in the room are doing, and another shout out to you, Rick. You're so inventive working with us on it, and that the Beacon is also a key partner in this, clearly. It expands beyond education to our economy, to tech advances, and economic changes, and we must remain competitive. So we always have to be agile, and I think this college has proven how agile we are. So there is a stark mismatch. We've got 470,000 open jobs in the county, but only 295,000 employed workers. That's a big gap. So even though, did they announce the rates yet? Did I miss it? The interest rates, weren't they going to announce that today? because they're worried about the softening of the job market and all that. But you know, our job market is still really, really competitive, really, really a challenge. So we have to continue to attract highly educated workers to Miami. We have to nurture our homegrown talent from early childhood, as was mentioned, not going to just start at college age. And we need to upskill and reskill adults through continuous learning. And we're doing all of those things. And particularly in highly competitive demand fields like STEM, AI, and cybersecurity. We've all seen how important those are. So we're going to learn more today about AI. I certainly am. A very important conversation. Thank you to the Beacon Council and Miami-Dade County for bringing thought leaders together for this and other critical topics. We can't do it alone. I'm your collaborator-in-chief. Collaboration, convening, courage. You know, you got a few of those C words going. Critical. So it's critical and crucial that our local initiatives are complemented by statewide. Thank you, Madam Senator and Chairwoman. We have Florida's Sail to 60 and the Lumina Foundation's national efforts to increase degree and certification attainment. We've heard from Lumina as well. So today, in conclusion, I and we call upon all of you to help us meet those ambitious 2040 goals. It will require bold action. We can do it by fostering partnerships, coming together, and having those D words, drive and determination and data. So onward, Miami-Dade County, Miami-Dade College, let's get it done. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you all hear me okay? Do you all feel the energy? This is uniquely Miami energy. I told Dr. Leibowitz, I said, you're in for a ride today because you are at Miami Dade College in Miami-Dade County with the academic leaders and the leadership from our community. And one of the things, I've been here about a year and a half, one of the things that never ceases to amaze me is not just the energy, but it's this moxie. It's this kind of like, we're going to do it. And when Miami determines that it's going to do something, it does it, period. So I'm very honored to have all of you here today. Yes, yeah, we do it. That's worth the round of applause. We do it if we determine we're going to do something. I'm very honored to be the CEO of the Miami-Dade Beacon Council, and really glad to have you all here for this discussion. It's going to be a great discussion. A few highlights that I'll just hit on before we hop into it is, you know, the Beacon Council, we've been around for about 40 years. We are the economic development organization, the public-private partnership charged with driving economic growth in Miami-Dade County. Over the last 40 years, we've helped contribute to over 160,000 new jobs in this economy and billions of dollars of investment. Our mission is to drive an economy that's sustainable, inclusive, and competitive. Sustainable in that, you know, that there is a high level of certainty or clarity or predictability about how the economy operates. No big spikes or big drops, but also sustainable in terms of the built environment. We see that every day. An economy that's inclusive, whether one lives in Hialeah, Miami Gardens, City of Miami, Florida City, it shouldn't matter where they live, what they look like. We want everybody to have all the opportunities that they can for optimum employment and optimum entrepreneurship. And then we want to build an economy that's ultimately competitive. On the face of it, we want our economy to just be better because of the work that we're doing together. This program is, is through our Academic Leaders Council. Our Academic Leaders Council is the leadership of many of the universities here. It's Florida Memorial University, Florida International University, University of Miami, the superintendent of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Barry University, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this great institution, Miami-Dade College. We thank Dr. Pumariega for chairing the Academic Leaders Council and for always hosting and being glad to promote the assets of Miami. So thank you, Dr. Pumariega. And of course, the thing decides to lock on me, because that's what happens in these moments. But we're going to have a great discussion today about AI, about what's and it doesn't really want to open, about what really is working, what isn't working, and kind of how AI is shifting our future. Just by a show of hands, how many people in the room use AI regularly? When I say regularly, how many of you use it every day? Okay, so we've got the room of the people that really understand this work. So this is going to be a fascinating conversation. I heard someone say I use it for everything, and that's the way I am. I put in ChatGPT maybe a week or so ago. I put in, I need to work out. I'm a middle-aged father. I need a workout that's 15 minutes a day because I don't have a lot of time, and I need a diet, and I want to focus on, and it gave me a plan that was just outstanding. Now, that's the most basic level. The stuff, though, that we're going to get today is going to be much, much higher level. We're very fortunate to have Dr. Jay Leibowitz. He's the professor of business innovation and industry transformation at the Edge Center at the Crummer Graduate School of Business at Rollins College. He was previously at Columbia University's Data Science Institute, among other higher education institutes. He was also the first knowledge management officer at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, and he was chair of AI at the U.S. Army War College. We're very fortunate to have him with us. He's published over 45 books, including his most recent ones, Data Analytics and AI, Online Learning Analytics, and Digital Transformation for the University of the Future. So we're very glad to have Dr. Leibowitz with us here today. Dr. Leibowitz, come on up and let's have a great conversation. So Jay and can everyone hear me okay? This mic is not on. Let's see. It says it's on. I'm going to turn it off. What about now? There we go. All right, here we go. So let's hop right into it. Dr. Leibowitz, Jay, can you just tell us a little bit about where AI is today? I mean, one of the things that we were talking about just a few minutes ago was, the fact that many of us think that it's been around 10, 15 years, and you were sharing it's been much longer. Can you just hop right in and tell us a little bit about the evolution of AI and where we are today?
Sure. Yeah, and welcome everyone. It's great to be down south. Took the Bright Line from Orlando. We just moved to Central Florida about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So, but we have family in South Florida, so I know Miami somewhat well, and love to learn more from you all. So anyway, it's funny because we were talking before the lunch about, I would ask my students, how long has AI existed? And they typically say, well, about 10 years. And when I said, well, actually, it was founded back in 1956 by John McCarthy at Stanford. It's almost 70 years old. Their eyes light up. And it's really quite interesting because the whole field, I don't think there's a universal definition for AI. The way I look at it is that the field of AI has two main goals. The first is to develop intelligent computer power to kind of supplement our human brain power. So I'm not saying to replace, but to supplement. And then the other main goal is really to help us better understand how we think and reason and learn. So there's a cognitive psychology part of the field which you may not often hear about. So anyway, I was saying that I was fortunate to be involved in the AI field in the early days, starting in the around 1980, 81, where expert systems were kind of just developing, and then we're gaining commercial interest in the 90s. And expert systems are computer programs that emulate the behavior of human experts in very well-defined areas. So for those maybe in the healthcare area, meningitis, was one of the first applications to diagnose, use an expert system to diagnose meningitis at Stanford, and there are many applications. But over the years, there really has been the springs and the winters where AI funding had dried up because there was a lot of hype, and there still might be some hype even today. And so a lot of the early funding was done by the defense agencies, and I'm a Washingtonian, so it really hurt, I think, the whole advancement of this field. And so, bring it to today, the question is, what's so unique about AI, right? Which it's been around for so many years. Why is it so hot now? And I think I have the answer, and you probably all already know it. But let me ask one question. What was the killer app for the PC, would you say? There might have been two. So what was the killer app for the PC? What's that? Okay, so word processing and maybe spreadsheets, right? So I think now the killer app, we never had a killer app for AI. I have a feeling it's Gen AI. And why do I say that? Okay, whatever you read, and I even brought just some recent publications, the Harvard Business Review from this fall has a special issue, How to Thrive in a Gen AI World. If that wasn't enough for you, you can go to Barnes & Noble and Improve Your Life with ChatGPT.
Oh, wow.
116 pages of practical tips and prompts. We won't go over all those. And then closer to Orlando, the Orlando Business Journal, about 2 weeks ago, the cover story was all in on AI. And I know a few of you are from Central Florida, or maybe has spent some time at Rollins or the Crummer Graduate School. And so everyone knows that the simulation and modeling, computer modeling industry is very key in the Orlando area. So there's been tremendous development, and even this particular journal talked about using AI for cancer detection. So there's just tremendous amount of work that's been done. So I don't have much real intelligence. My wife has all that. I went the artificial intelligence route. So I just kind of wanted to set, kind of the terminology, and I think you have a cheat sheet too for those who may not be too familiar with AI. So we circulated a cheat sheet.
It's really interesting. I mean, we're at Miami Dade College's Idea Center, and of course, right around the corner is its AI campus, the first in the states to offer the bachelor's degree in AI. But we see this thing both at the local school level as well as at universities, that there is this tension about the usage of AI, both on the side of faculty as well as on the side of students. Can you provide some additional context in terms of kind of what we're seeing and kind of what the opportunity really is for academic institutions to fully leverage it?
Yeah, so, and I know we have a number of university presidents here, which is great. It's, I think we're at a stage now where a lot of institutions, especially higher ed institutions and secondary schools, and other types of educational institutions are wrestling with, various policies now. My personal view is you might as well use the tools that are available to you. What we say is that it's really in terms, let's say, of your job, it's not that you're going to be ultimately replaced by AI. Okay, maybe certain assembly line workers, with pick and place robots, but then you need people to help maintain the robots. So, AI can also create many new jobs. So it's really, I think the people who are at risk are those who don't use these AI tools that might be accessible and available to them. So, so even at our campus, at Rollins College, we have an AI liberal arts task force, and we have folks from philosophy to English to environmental sciences to computer science who are trying to help the provost. I know we have at least one provost here from Florida Memorial on the academic fair side to try to determine, what would be a proper policy across the institution, and then even to provide a standardized suite of tools. So I think most people now, when they think of AI, they just think about Gen AI systems. So whether you use ChatGPT or you use Claude or Gemini, by Google, or we have Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. But AI really goes beyond that. But the Gen AI movement, I think, is so important. There were some recent studies done. One was by Harvard, MIT, and Wharton at Penn. And they took a look at the consultants, hundreds of consultants at the Boston Consulting Group, and to see how they were using their Gen AI tools. And it turned out that those who had used the Gen AI tools and related systems were able to improve their productivity by 40% over those who didn't. So, there's just there's just tremendous interest in this whole area. There's on the education side, Rod, a book came out this year. It's called Teaching with AI. So Jose Bowen and then Edward Watson, they're with the AAC&U, the American Association of Colleges and Universities. So if you're interested on kind of the pedagogy part of AI, it's a great book. And so they talk about the 3 R's. So I'm an old timer here. So, I think of reading, writing, and arithmetic. They said, no, the 3 R's now are relationships. So how do you build the relationships with the community? And we've talked and heard opening comments about setting up relationships with public-private partnerships, getting industry, NGOs, and the universities involved. And then the second R is really resilience, so adaptability. And then reflection, so instant feedback without judgment. So, I think there's a lot of interest. I have to make mention and keep me on task, because these professors could start to ramble. But because we have some of the college presidents here, there was a Board of Trustees survey that I located, and it was done in the U.S. and they were looking 10 years out. And more than 40% of the trustees from the study said they're very concerned about the future of higher ed, and specifically extremely interested on how AI can contribute to higher education. So, my personal view is that some of the institutions, I know at Miami, they recently advertised a chief AI officer position. I learned at Barry there's something similar, and I think more of that is needed in order to develop AI strategies across educational institutions. Touro University, which is based in New York City, they're worldwide. Back in January, they hired a associate provost for AI, and they are trying to infuse AI across their 36 programs over their 18 campuses. In New Jersey, Governor Murphy of New Jersey has created an AI kind of investment portfolio, and they're working with Princeton to have a 500,000 AI-focused global entrepreneur in residence program at the state universities in New Jersey, like at Rutgers. created a $2 million fund for AI education in K through 12, and also created a $4.5 million AI Innovation Challenge career development program. So you're seeing more and more of this. Connecticut also wants to be the first state to have a Citizens AI Academy where there's a repository of free AI courses across the state. And even where I worked this past summer in Governor Shapiro's office in Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth has been looking also very closely at how AI is a key role not only in education but in workforce development. So it's probably more than you wanted to hear.
No, that's great. I mean, one of the things is, you know, what we're seeing, and I think you just highlighted prime examples of it, is that communities that want to win are trying to figure out how do they leverage this, how do they make, what are the smart investments that they need to make in AI to move things forward. One of the things that we know in economics is that every time that there is one of these innovations at this sort of scale, that there are communities that advance incredibly rapidly. Other communities are completely left behind. We know that there are people that make a lot of money and that there are others that are kind of left in the dust. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing, or what are some of the opportunities to really think about the question of, you know, inclusion, and how do we ensure that different facets of our community are able to take advantage of the AI revolution?
Yeah, and it's especially important, as you were pointing out earlier, you know, in your region here. So just a couple of data points, and I have to apologize. As you get older, there are three things that happen to you. The first is you tend to forget, and the second and third things I don't remember. So I know there are fact checkers in the room, so I just want to make sure that I have the right numbers for some of the research studies. So just for a couple data points, the World Economic Forum, based in Switzerland, has done a number of the future jobs reports, and they recently found that they believe that 6 out of 10 workers need to be educated or trained in AI over the next 4 years. More recently, Forbes had an article, I think back on September 9th, and they found from one of the studies that they cited that more than 77% of the people surveyed, so typical, you know, people in the workforce, feel that they don't have enough training in AI. And there was another study cited that employers, I think it was about 72% of the employers, said they had provided the right training for their employees, but about half of their employees said no. So there's a disconnect there. And the kinds of things I think that you all are doing, I learned in the Miami Dade school system with having the Academy for Teachers to learn about AI and having a cohort and then infusing AI into the various schools, at least on a pilot basis, and you roll that out. I think that's, you know, phenomenal. So I think part of the challenge is, you know, having the right set of programs. So we talk about reskilling and upskilling, and to, you know, look across all, you know, different populations to address some of those concerns. And so I think we need to continue to stress lifelong learning programs. We will also see, to aid, there's a lot of work that's been done in creating AI chatbots. So even we talked a little bit about maybe having an AI concierge service for Miamians to learn a little more about what's happening here. And you're going to see more and more of that. And the technology is advancing in terms of conventional voice for AI chatbots for customer service. I'm actually, I mentioned earlier, visiting Emory University, and they are investing about $1 billion into AI. They're looking at AI for humanity initiatives, AI for health. And they have, as one of their labs, is called an empathetic AI lab. So you're starting to even see, from the technology perspective, how emotional intelligence is being factored into these AI systems, which is an interesting movement. So I think these kinds of things will have to continue. I think the key too, which is developing the bridges between industry and government and NGOs. And I'll plug the Miami Dade, the fairly new NSF grant of almost $3 million for the AI and workforce development initiatives. So it's those kinds of things that I think will be infused into the workforce, particularly here, and will make a difference.
Great points. I want to zoom out for a minute. The United States, Florida, the world. When you talk about the rate of digital, of acquisition of the digital skills and kind of how we're postured, how would you compare the U.S. to the rest of the world in terms of our advancement? And then what do you see as specific opportunities or strengths here in Florida?
Okay, so, worldwide, there's been some really interesting developments. So Singapore is offering AI education subsidy for citizens over 40. Our son just returned from Singapore. It's a long trip, but it's a great place if you have a chance to visit. But so that's interesting. And then worldwide now, and then we'll drill down to Florida. This past March, Europe signed through the European Parliament the first I think it's the first world's legislation in AI. It's called Europe's AI Act. And even though much of it won't take effect until 2026, they're ramping up, and they've been very proactive in this whole area of AI ethics. So another very important topic is responsible AI, looking at AI ethics and safety, and maybe we can touch upon that. The U.S., we've been pretty proactive. So most recently, within the past year, under the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, NIST, we stood up the AI Safety Institute. And I think it was back in May, I'm going to say May 6th, they developed kind of their 3-page strategic vision and their pillars. So this whole area of responsible AI is so important. I actually do research relating to this whole area, and particularly even in relation to Gen AI, we tell our students, you can't trust everything these systems are telling you. And I don't get into all the research, but I mean, they're getting better, and there's strategies for prompting, to get improved performance, but you do have to be very, very careful. So, there are a number of initiatives. NIST has the AI in Risk Management Framework 2.0 that companies are using to make sure that they're implementing and developing AI systems appropriately to reduce the risk of bias, algorithmic bias, to ensure transparency and fairness. Okay, so that's kind of a worldwide kind of U.S. view. And then I just read, coming down on the train, the Bright Line from Orlando, that Florida is third of all the states in terms of using and producing AI goods and services. Did you know that?
Wow.
Colorado's number one. I don't know. But, and then, of course, if we look, you talked about digital skills. There are different research studies, EDUCAUSE, and I know the academic folks. EDUCAUSE is a major research organization, looking at kind of educational types of issues. So they found that 1/3 of the U.S., and this was also through OECD and the IT Information Foundation, ITIF, they found that 1/3 of the U.S. does not have, they either don't have or have a limited digital skills. So if we look at Florida, the good news for you all, and now me, since I'm a transplant now, is that in terms of the digital skills, the jobs that require digital skills, Florida, 90% of the jobs in Florida, and I can give you the study separately, 90% require digital skills. It's pretty close to the U.S. average, which was 92%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think the kinds of things that you're doing and developing, seem to be closing the gap. I know, hearing the mayor's comments and certain goals, for the region, certainly there are challenges and opportunities. When I spent some time at the Army War College, so I was the chaired professor of AI. Again, not much real intelligence, but the Army War College is where the generals typically will come out of that group, and they're just phenomenal. And I heard one of the key generals say, we don't have challenges, we have opportunities. So I think there's, an opportunity here for you all to kind of close that gap. So is that helpful?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah.
There are a few things you've hit on, and I want to try and recap a few of them and ask a couple more questions and then open it up for Q&A. So you've talked about training. So one of the things we're hearing loud and clear is that there has to be training and retooling of talent, of the workforce, et cetera. We talked about policy a little bit, the fact that, and I think this is an area, maybe we're going to follow the EU in this, but you mentioned that the EU has passed policy actually to try to start to govern AI, and I think that's going to be very, very important. What we haven't talked about is infrastructure to support it. We know that the types of the amount of data, the amount of data centers, the amount of energy, all of those sorts of things that are needed. Can you speak a little bit about the infrastructure landscape, what's going to be needed to power this next generation of innovation?
I did, yeah. I'm just pulling out because I just want to make sure I don't have the wrong information. So, like with any technology, there are risks. So there was a report that came out. It was called the Gladstone Report. It was commissioned by the U.S. State Department, and this came out this past year. It's really scary because what they did is they spent more than a year. They had over 200 people. These were mainly executives in AI, IT, cybersecurity firms, researchers, weapons of mass destruction experts and national security officials. And they said, they painted a, quote, catastrophic national security concern with AI. I'm not going to, get into the details of that, but that's kind of scary. And then, Rod, the point about power, I know even in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I have to be careful what I say. I'm not sure what's public, but but a very large company was even looking at using nuclear power plants to deal with the AI consumption level that's being generated. So I have a couple numbers for you. So I did my own research here. So it turns out that um, total greenhouse gas emissions increased nearly 50% over the past 5 years, mostly due to electricity that powers the AI data centers. And then for computational power, the AI's computational power is projected to double every 100 days,
Wow.
which could increase global energy demand by 26% to 36% annually. And Goldman Sachs, I don't know why well, I guess, yeah, they have data centers. They have found that the data centers will account for 8% of the U.S. power usage by 2030, up from 3%. So I know here in Miami, sustainability in other places, is so important. I know there's also concern and movement, on the global climate issues. So that's kind of worrisome a little bit. And but I don't want to paint, a negative picture, particularly of AI, because we could say AI really builds efficiencies. Even it could be used to improve electricity usage efficiency by, shifting tasks that are most taxing, to off-peak hours and doing some modeling. So, you can really gain advantage, but there are some key risks. And then certainly on the responsible AI side, on the ethics side, is also, I think, an important issue to keep in mind.
I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. In your book, you talk about, his most recent book is Digital Transformation for the University of the Future. And in it, you talk about some of the strategies that education can incorporate. Can you walk us through some of those at a high level, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Yeah. So I'm a believer in human-centered AI, keeping the human in the loop. Not everyone adheres to that philosophy. So there are some great institutes at Stanford. They have the Institute for Human-Centered AI. I'll plug, I'm looking at Paula. She's an alum of our doctoral program at the Crummer Graduate School of Business. We're actually standing up a new AI center called AI Edge, which is geared for executives. So it stands for Artificial Intelligence for Executive Decision-Making, Governance, and Execution. So governance is, I think, what you're alluding to. How can universities or businesses really establish a governance structure, to create value? Yeah. In AI, I'm actually teaching a course this semester called Leveraging AI for Business Innovation. AI is very closely tied to business innovation, value creation, capture, and delivery. So for those on the business side, you probably have witnessed, much of this. So going back to an original comment, I truly feel that most institutions should have someone at the helm, if you will, helping to spearhead a strategy for the institution. So even at Rollins College, on October 5th, at the Board of Trustees meeting, I'll be there to help, along with our dean and others, discuss what kind of AI strategy and set of policies are needed across the institution. And then a lot of it too is trying to. There's a book out. It's a great book, 2024. It's called The AI Savvy Leader, and the author. I was going to bring it. The author is the dean of Northeastern University's Business School, the Kremer. And David talks about you really need business leaders or even education leaders, you don't have to be an AI expert, but you have to be savvy enough to know either bring in the right advisors, as the mayor had pointed out, bringing in smart people, but you have to also help to build and nurture a culture that can be sustainable in regard to applying these AI techniques. And so, a lot of this, you could have a grassroots approach. So our students really are pushing us, as faculty, because, they're using ChatGPT in, elementary school. And, the high schoolers. And so, you're seeing kind of a movement from, even from the grassroots and then to the faculty. But then you also have to have the proper training and education programs to make sure that the faculty and the, staff and administration, are also knowledgeable on these topics. So I think we're going to see a lot of interesting advancements in the coming years. There's a push for increased personalization with AI and machine learning, and that's going to continue to happen. On the education front, the whole area of adaptive learning will continue, I think, to advance. We'll also see, again, the use of these AI kind of chatbots. I'll just make one final comment because I know we want to open the floor. Even some years ago, and this might be 6-7 years ago, at Georgia Tech, for their Intro to Computer Science course, the Professor Goel, Goel, he developed a AI virtual assistant using IBM's Watson at the time. There's Watson X now, which could be of interest to you all. But anyway, he trained that chatbot, that virtual assistant, on all the kinds of questions that the students would typically ask the faculty about, computer science, this Intro to Computer Science course. And this was a course, with hundreds of students. So at the end of the semester, he asked the students, of all the teaching or graduate assistants that you had who helped you during the course, which one did you like the best? And they said Jill Watson. And he named the chatbot Jill Watson. There are also interesting stories where, using these AI systems to help schedule meetings and other things. I heard a funny story that's someone wanted to ask that person out for lunch, not knowing it was a AI assistant. so anyway, as the field advances in conversational AI and empathetic, AI, it will become more lifelike. So anyway, it's an interesting time, I think, for all of us. And
now, I know someone will be upset with me if I don't ask this question. Your top 3-4 generative AI programs, everybody knows ChatGPT, but what are the other ones out there we should be exploring?
Okay. And there's been a lot of research that has kind of benchmarked, which ones might be more appropriate for you. So I'll tell you the main ones you hear about. So ChatGPT 4.0. Actually, next week, I arranged a workshop for our faculty and staff on how to customize the GPTs, for your organization. So, and it's amazing, even developing syllabi. And then I was trying to become a little more proficient with Python coding. And so our younger son said, "Why don't you just run it through ChatGPT?" And it did a pretty good job. Not great, but pretty good. So certainly ChatGPT by OpenAI. You have Google's Gemini, used to be Bard. There's Microsoft Copilot, um, well, I'll be careful because we do have it. There's some issues, a little clunkiness, but I think over the next few months, it will even be better that way. Claude 3 by Anthropic is another leader. Some people use perplexity.ai, which is based on GPT. And then there's some open source ones. So Vanderbilt University, actually Vanderbilt might be coming to West Palm to bring in a college of the own graduate school of business along with an innovation hub in a college of AI and computer science. So I think it's a $520 million project. So I'm sure our president from Barry is keeping an eye on that. But anyway, they developed, it's called Amplify. It's being tested now as open source, so we're actually testing it at Rollins. And it combines ChatGPT, it doesn't combine, under one system, one Gen AI, you could then go to ChatGPT, you could go to Claude 3, and then there's a European Gen AI, I think it's called Mistral, might be French. But just so you know, they all have issues. You really should learn proper strategies for prompting. So iteration. They hallucinate. And you might have to say, do not hallucinate as your last prompt. But prompt engineering is, it's really an emerging area. And just on salaries, I wish I was smart enough to be a prompt engineer, with large language models. I saw that they're making between $250,000 to $330,000 a year.
Wow.
So it's a hot field for sure.
That's great. Let's give Dr. Leibowitz a round of applause. All right, questions? There's someone over there. I don't know if we've got a mic out there. There she goes. Oh, okay.
I promise it wasn't me, it was AI. Hello, everybody. Courtney Campbell, B. Crockett Foundation. And Dr. J, amazing. The question that I have for you, because we work with youth development and middle and high school students. And one of the things you just touched on, which is what we've really been working on for the past 2 years, is how to refine their ways of honing their skills in prompt engineering. What are some key tips and tricks for our middle and high schoolers so that they can really be efficient in prompt engineering?
Okay. I'm going to put...
It's on. Yeah.
I'm going to put my new friend on the mic to answer that question, then I'll follow up, because you're actually doing it, correct? Okay. So I think it would be better information from you than me. You might want to introduce yourself.
Lupe Diaz, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and what we're finding, by the way, is communication skills are definitely the key, in addition to the fact, and I heard it earlier today, the soft skills. So we can be talking about AI and digital literacy and so forth, but the soft skills are still number one, and communication skills. We have a summer youth internship program that Miami-Dade College is a very strong supporter and partner. CareerSource, also a major funder in the county. And when we survey the employers, that's the number one argument that they bring across. It's not the skills that they're learning right now, it's those soft skills as well as the communication skills. And content engineers, and you're right, because I probably read the same article, $200,000 to $300,000, and that's what attracts students. So, but again, you can't get there without having those communication skills.
Let's give a round of applause for Miami-Dade County Public Schools.
And just to add on, if you look at the World Economic Forum reports, the future of jobs, the three top skills that they feel are most important going out to 2030, along with soft skills, but creativity, problem solving, and resiliency and adaptability. And then anecdotally, I mentioned, is it on? Yeah, okay. That I visited the Orlando Economic Partnership on Monday, and I actually asked them, and they're tied in, with all the companies like you all, and I said, what are the key issues in terms of skill sets where they're finding, their employees having some deficit? And they all said, number one is soft skills, so.
That's great. Another question right here.
Is it on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Along with the soft skills mentioned, particularly communication, when in the educational model, I think a lot of people may not know that there's some foundational skills. When I developed a doctoral dissertation with regard to computer simulation training, I had to utilize Bloom's taxonomy of learning. So those critical skills, analysis, synthesis, understanding, et cetera, I don't know if people have the impression that you just learn the program, but you don't have those, foundational skills to start from.
Are you referring to like using Gen AI types of systems?
Well, I think critical learning skills are essential, and if we're going to be teaching elementary, middle school students, we want to make sure they know how to approach a problem.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good point. I actually, I saw a quote, and what it was referring to this area. Some of the key issues, I think, in teaching, you certainly, and the World Economic Forum, cites the importance of critical thinking skills. I also feel that you have to, as an educator, you have to be kind of innovative and creative in how these skills are being taught. And I'll paraphrase the quote. Some people feel even with these Gen AI systems, because, that you might feel, okay, well, the students or the learner, whoever's using it, really, it's not really, applying his or her own, thoughts. But others feel, actually, you could go much deeper, because then you could do editing and curating and drill down. So, there could be some strong advantages, certainly in that regard. I'll give you one example. We have two sons, and when our older son was in elementary school, he approached a particular problem a different way. He got the right answer. It was sound, foundational knowledge. It was a proper approach. And he was penalized for not following one set methodology. But yet he was so creative in his thinking and was able to solve that problem, in a different way that maybe the teacher never thought of. So I think we have to be, more open to, especially with the new generation coming through, and then also even with the COVID generation, with all the mental health issues. I mean, so it's challenging for us as educators.
That's great. I have to acknowledge our chair-elect of the Beacon Council and one of the co-chairs of Opportunity Miami. Our other co-chair of Opportunity Miami is right here, Rick Beasley, and the mayor is our other co-chair of Opportunity Miami. But Christine Barney, please.
Thank you. Last week, Instagram announced some of the strongest guidelines against social media use for users under 18. They made all the accounts private. They turned it off between 10 and 8 to encourage sleep. When it comes to AI, where do you think parents should be going to for advice on how to use AI safely for those who are under 18? And what are the issues the same as with social media, or are they different?
That's a great question. Rod, do you want to answer that? No. So there was a, let me get the reference. So the leading technology companies, Cisco, IBM, they had a conference pretty recently to establish guidelines for kind of AI usage. And this was back in July. It was called the AI-Enabled ICT Workforce Consortium, ICT, Information and Communication Technologies. So the industry leaders there were Accenture, Google, IBM, Indeed, Intel, Microsoft, SAP, and they released a report called The Transformational Opportunity of AI. And the number one, so they said 92% of at least ICT jobs analyzed were expected to undergo either high or moderate transformation due to advancements in AI. And the top 3 technical skills that they felt would be important in terms of increasing in relevance were 1, AI ethics and responsible AI, gets to your point, AI literacy, and 3rd was prompt engineering. So, so to answer your question directly, there are different organizations that are looking at this issue. So, for example, the U.S. AI Safety Institute that I mentioned, part of their charter, if you look, they have like a 3-page kind of strategic vision of what they're trying to tackle, and a lot of it will focus on the kinds of issues that you're raising. I personally don't have a good answer for that, but you know, I think it might be best to kind of look at even what the Europe AI Act, what they're proposing, not proposing, what they passed. And so I think there will be synergies between, you know, what you see in social media and maybe AI. We haven't even talked about deep fakes and, you know, all the craziness that you can do with AI stuff. I mean, it's scary. As our 3-year-old grandson would say, it's scary.
So Jay, you know, in closing, there are a few things I think you've raised today that are front and center. You know, there's the reality that universities are making big shifts in terms of governance, in terms of investment, and then just in terms of focus, and that's on both the administrative and the faculty side as well as on the student side. That trend's not going to change, and the universities that are going to win are the ones that are at the front. You've also shared with us that you know, it's kind of like the Wild West because it's so early in the technology and well, early in terms of the mass adoption of the technology, so we're going to have a lot of things going on there. We've got sustainability issues. We've got, as it relates to power. And so there seems like there's a lot of murkiness around it, but what's clear is that the opportunity is undeniable. The opportunity is both undeniable, and the ability for AI to really transform economies and communities is unquestionable. We really appreciate you taking the time with us today, and we hope to have you back here again real soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And best of luck on your AI journeys. I think it's here to stay.
Yes, please.
Let's go ahead and give Rod and Jay both a round of applause. Jay, as Rod said, you gave us a lot of food for thought, and you certainly gave us some good data and statistics around it. You know, to all of us in the room, I think every one of us, whether you're an education leader, a business leader, a nonprofit leader, or a parent, are grappling with AI and what the future of AI looks like. We started at Miami Dade College with the training of our faculty. In 2021, we had over 500 of our faculty go through AI training because we didn't approach it that we thought that AI would be a major, but that AI would change the way that we learn, we play, and we do things. And so we had faculty from across all disciplines. In 2022, we funded projects for faculty to use AI to help with learning outcomes and student success. The provost worked closely with our faculty. You know, and we didn't make it about show the data and the proof. We just said, how will you use it? And so when we rolled out the curriculum, we had already had some discussions about it. When ChatGPT rolled out that November, when we got back to campus, we had a faculty roundtable and a student roundtable, and a student asked, will you ban ChatGPT? At that time, the Chronicle and others were saying about banning ChatGPT. I said, you know, us approaching this to ban ChatGPT would be like if you would have knocked on the door in Hialeah, in my mom's house, and said you were going to take her Britannica encyclopedia that she had purchased for her children. Right? Because that was the first kind of version of ChatGPT, if we think about it, connected to academics. It took 10 or 12 books that we would have found in the library, summarized it into one page, and from there we sat at the kitchen table and had access to do our homework. For those of you who are not that old, you had Compton CDs. And then you put in the CDs, and it did the same thing. For some of you that came into the professional being and set your first email and logged on to the first computer and went to Internet Explorer and you did the access to it via a modem that went and you knew you were connected. We then had the same concerns. And so I think that we've been here before. And those concerns are serious. I think that there are, for policymakers, opportunities for us to get it right. And we've seen where when we don't get it right, TikTok, the algorithms that created this unsafe space, especially for our youth. But if you're in the nonprofit sector, you have to put the guardrails. I can tell you that if you hire a young analyst who says, I'm going to do my work real quick, and they load up all of your donors into ChatGPT, that becomes the muscle memory of ChatGPT. So there are some real guardrails in regards to us looking at it from an institutional standpoint, from an education standpoint, and so deeply think about those things as well, but have the confidence that we've been here before. We've gotten some things really right. We'll get some really wrong. Know the difference between generative open AI. That train's left the station. There's not going to be policy guardrails to that, but I think there can be some strong policy and privacy guardrails around applications that will use AI and take our data privacy or algorithms and not use it in the most effective way. We're proud to be leading a coalition about AI for all. The first course that a student takes at Miami Dade College is AI and ethics. And I know that our Academic Leaders Council are thinking thoughtfully about this. We firmly believe here at the college, and I do with our presidents and the superintendent, that for us to be successful, students need to leave with 3 distinctive skills. One are academic and foundation skills. Those academic and foundation skills allow us to think critically and to look at something and question whether it's right or not, or whether it makes an enormous amount of common sense. The second are the soft skills. Right here in this room, when we brought the president from Lumina, he talked about the skills that were needed for the future of work. And I'm here to tell you that the skills for the future of work that are needed are human. And that should give us a lot of faith in what we do around teamwork, communication, design thinking, and those soft skills. But I will tell you that I think the third distinctive skill set that we're all going to need to have are the digital skills. The truth is that we can do everything we do around cybersecurity, but any one of our organization's greatest threat to being hacked is one of us that follows a prompt that logs in and provides those credentials out. And I think for students, understanding artificial intelligence and being able to gather the critical thinking and the knowledge to not be faked out, because there are going to be deep fakes. We're 50 days away from an election, and probably AI will play a great role in elections. And it can be for the good, and yes, there will always be those that play in that field for the bad. And so I hope that today the conversation with Rod and Jay gave you a little bit of knowledge, that you have the confidence that the Academic Leaders Council is thinking about this thoughtfully, and that we're working together with Opportunity Miami and the Beacon Council to make sure that our business community here know that together we're going to build a better Miami, and we're going to build our Miami. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Have a great day. Thanks, everyone.